I think something that I'm really like wrestling with today is the great sacrifice that there is in trying to be somebody and like do it by yourself, and then also be like a woman. As a woman, there you have to take account all the sacrifices that you're going to be making at the end of the day, because I think it's important to really actually know what's at stake, because I think some people like they think that you can have it all, and like maybe you can, but I don't think that that's often the case, unfortunately. And I think that's why the time pressure feels so heavy, because it's real. I think sometimes when you're younger, or if it's a deadline that you just have to meet, the time pressure helps. And I think a lot of time I like time pressure and I need that kind of structure. But I think for like right now, the time pressure of trying to achieve something by a certain age comes with stakes, because I'm not like a career woman that doesn't want like a family and stuff like that. I think I'm in that part of the like Little Women monologue, like Joe's monologue, where she says, women are, right. Don't ask me why I have this right now, please. She says, women have minds and souls as well as hearts, ambition and talent as well as beauty. And I'm sick of being told that love is all a woman is fit for. And then she says, but I'm so lonely. And I feel like that's the part that's always like kind of disregarded, I guess. Because it's like, well, you chose to do this, but it's like, that doesn't make it any less real. I think people think that if you're choosing to chase a career path, that means that you're not sad about losing out on this other thing, if that makes sense. Like, I personally feel like I've had to come to terms with the fact that if I continue down the path that I'm choosing and wanting, and actually, like, I really do want to take a career path in life and be more of a career-centered woman, that is a sacrifice that you have to make, and a lot of men don't have to do that. And that's why it's low-key, like, kind of frustrating in movies all the time. You see movies about directors and stuff where they, like, basically, like, abandon their families and then come back and are like, I'm sorry. And it's like, yeah, but it's also like, no. Like, in my mind, like, my guttural reaction, and I'm all for, like, complex, like, characters, and I don't think people have to be perfect in stories and things like that, so I'm not anti that. But, like, you don't get to have a family if you're gonna do that. If that, like, in my mind, I think because I am a woman and I know that if I got pregnant I would carry the child, I'm like very aware of the commitment of that. But it seems like men have kids and then keep going with their career and basically like abandon their families. And then there's all these movies where they come back in their lives and they're like, I just didn't know. And it's like, you do know. You know that, I don't know. Like, what did you think was going to happen? You're gone all the time. You can't, I don't think, if you know in your heart that you're obsessed with something else, with a job, an occupation, a passion, a career, you know that you can't split your attention. So why would you have a family? But it's like, for me, because I think this is because I'm a woman, maybe it's not, but I'm like, I know that by taking this path that means that I have to sacrifice this other thing. You can't have both. I don't know, it's kind of treated like, well, that's what you wanted, right? And it's like, no, but it still sucks. Like, constantly I'm thinking, I wish that I started earlier, maybe so that I could have both. I don't know. And I think there's some people that don't even think that far ahead. And I think that I felt like I really needed to see, the opportunity cost of exactly what at each step and each age and each whatever would be gone, and like a driving force for me, part of it is like, I want to do these things before my parents and my grandparents pass away. So that's the timeline that I'm choosing rather than well, maybe I'll have a family first and then go into it later or something. You know what I mean? And it's also that I do truly believe that you shouldn't just get into a relationship because you want to or get married because you want to. You should get married because you found somebody that you want to marry, if that makes sense. I feel like, and actually, I don't want to say that this is hard fact, but I feel like that's how I feel. Like when people are like, are you looking for somebody? I'm like, no, I'm living my life and I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to work on my life and my plans and my passions. And if somebody falls in line with that, then they do. I'm not searching for that. I can know that that's true and still be not sad about it, but just oh, I wish, you know what I mean? And I think it works for some people to have both, but I'm not. And I'm not even fully talking about just relationships. I'm talking about everything. You sacrifice time with every single thing when you're kind of obsessed with something. You lose friendships, you lose time dedicated to other hobbies, you lose potential relationships, you lose those things. And it's the stakes are so high because of that. So then if you do not achieve that thing, then all that was lost, if that makes sense. And I think that that's the biggest thing as I get closer and closer to, obviously, the childbearing age ends around 35 usually. And I think for me, I'm I gotta know what I'm losing here. And as a kid, I used to be I want to have 3 or 4 kids. I've always been open to adoption. But and that's why I'm not as pressed about it, because I've always kind of felt like I wanted to adopt kids anyway. But every time every birthday, I'm okay, well, 3 kids might actually have to be 2. And I don't know if that's toxic to think about, but I'm you have to get real with yourself and decide if you're willing to sacrifice those things. Because if you get to 35 and you're oh, frick, that this is not what I wanted to do, then you're screwed, And I think that that's where resentment comes in. In a way, ignorance is bliss, and I'm not ignorant on the fact that that with great, not to quote Spider-Man, I won't quote Spider-Man because it doesn't make sense, but with great ambitions comes great sacrifice. And I think definitely more so as a girl. Because actually, I feel I'm actually in no rush. Because I feel I'm young. I don't feel actual time pressure other than the biological clock. And that's so annoying. So that, I think that creates kind of a toxic energy too. I genuinely feel every single second is very, very, very important. And it is, actually. But it makes every minute's very stressful. And that's why I think I cannot commit to things, because I'm if in that moment I feel I'm behind in what I'm supposed to do, I would rather not. For example, I joined a basketball league, and sometimes if I get behind in work, I'm okay, well, that's something, you can't go to basketball tonight. But I think some people don't fully understand that. They're you're not actually tied to something. It's not it's your job that is going to fire you if you don't do this thing. But I'm no, but I'm thinking of it as maybe I won't be able to have a kid later type beat. And that's true. Yeah, it's really weighing the opportunity cost. But then because of that, I'm chronically cautious. Not to quote that song, but let's look at the lyrics. I'm an optimist who's cynical. We talked about that yesterday. This song embodies who I am, and it's frustrating. I gamble big for the smallest part. I know it's not enough to change what's been going on, but it's all I've got. I misjudge and switch up from target to target. This is this is a different aspect of who I am, and it's like a risk assessor. There's a line in here where it's suffocating the fire right as it kindles. It's like the idea of achieving the goal with all that sacrifice and then it not feeling like what you think it's going to feel like would almost be worse. So like just the build up is almost like the last thing that would say like you check this off, that feels like the scariest part. Swimming in circles in search of substance in shallow waters that give me nothing. How can optimists be cynical? So if I'm honest, I think I'm beginning to question how much I want this. Overloaded serial stressor, I'm sitting nauseous. Panic on a loop in my head, I'm chronically cautious. How can I get off this? To keep it simple, I think I've been willingly following every impulse, picturing a future, then tossing it out the window. Suffocate the fire I start right when it kindles. Passionate but fickle. Yeah. I think that's what I am. It's like, oh, hello. Like, very, very passionate and fickle. And I don't know what that is. It's like the idea of knowing is scarier than, what is it? It's like, sorry, I'm sick if you guys can't tell. So like with everything else that I'm working on right now, I love it so much. Like more than anything. Like I wake up every day and I'm joyous. But the idea of like the whole process fully coming full circle and being completed and then being like, then what? Is like horrifying. And then also when you put in that layer of like family and like that kind of thing, it's like, then what? And you sacrifice all this for what? You know? And I hope that that's not the case. And I know that's not the case. And that's just me being the way that I am. And I'm an optimist who's cynical, blah, blah, blah. And that's genuine. Like, I genuinely think everything is going to work out for me. Like, really in my spirit, I do think that. And I think that I put in work. But my worry is that it's going to work out for me and then it's going to not be fulfilling. Ooh. But yeah, so that's just what I've been thinking about today. I know I don't usually talk about these things, but it felt like kind of fake, honestly, to just like BS. Because that is what I've been thinking about literally all day. I've also been feeling like this too because I found like an old prayer journal of mine and I was like, wow, I don't know, like everything in here is still a thing. It's still like not, you know, and that definitely like it's like I have faith, but I don't. It's the same thing. It's the optimist who's like I have a lot of faith in God, but then I don't at the same time. It's almost like anything that feels like it's too lofty and too out of my control in some way, I don't believe it. And it's partially because those things that I'm like anything, and I know that it's not true, but part of me feels like any prayer that's come true has been because of something that I've done. And anything that was just like left up to God is still not. I don't know. And I know that not yet doesn't mean no and whatever and all that stuff. But it's just like, I'm a very control-centered person. So relinquishing control and things not happening is not, it's like hard for my brain. Like, I don't know if I've ever actually had faith in my life, for real. For real. I've had faith in this sense of, like, obedience and stuff like that, but I don't know if I've ever actually left anything up to God, because there's a point where I'm like, okay, well, you didn't do it, so now I have to do it. And that's how I am, like, just in life. Like, if I ask somebody to do something, they don't do it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take over now, you know? And I think the issue with, like, God, not the issue, but you know what I'm saying, is, like, you don't actually know. Like, if you ask a friend to do something and they don't, you know that they're actually not doing it because they're right in front of your face. But, like, with God, you don't know if he's just not doing it yet. Or the scariest part of it is if it's not supposed to happen, period. And I hate that. But I'm going to keep pushing P, okay? Because genuine, and, like, that's also why I don't like talking about this stuff, because it sounds very, like, doom and gloom. But I mean this deep. I really do mean this for real. Like, I'm gonna be okay. One thing I always am is okay. Because we've been chatting every single day. I didn't want to come on here and be like, and just like joke around. Because at the end of the day, it isn't funny. It's serious, isn't it? So, what's the quote from Pride and Prejudice, which I haven't seen? No, wait, I have seen it. I don't like it. No, I'm kidding. Well, that's true. I don't really like Pride and Prejudice. But there's a quote from it. I'm 27 years old. I have no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents and I'm frightened. Yeah. Retweet. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a burden to my parents. I have a couple prospects. I have a little bit of money, but like I am frightened and I am 27 years old. But yeah. All good. It's all good though, for real. I'm gonna be so pumped tomorrow because like I won't be sick anymore. That's a big thing. The sickness, it makes me very aware that I'm losing days. That's what it is. And all comes back to the time. When I'm sick, I can't do anything. It frustrates me. And then I'm like, well, there goes another day that I could have been spending with my future child. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.